is the head of the program. He kind of runs the day to day and everything there, and I can't thank him enough for everything he's done for me in my career. They came together and started this sportscasting school, but they wanted it to be, different than your average four-year school that you would get at, KU, K-State, Missouri even, or Syracuse, which is the other big, sportscasting school. So they put this 2-year program together. It's an accelerated program, and it's fast-paced. You get a bachelor's of science at the end, and they just did an incredible job.
That's awesome. So, you have Longview Community College, you have Penn Valley and stuff like that, and those are usually 2-year schools, but those are side steps to go on to
Right.
Mizzou and stuff. What is different about this school in comparison to a community school?
Right. So I mean, at a community college, you are thinking ahead. You're preparing yourself to go to the next school after this. This and preparing you to go out to the field. So they know that you're not going to another school after this. That's the goal, is to not go to another school, and you're going into a job right after you graduate. So you get your bachelor's degree, and with the network that you've hopefully created in the 2 years or 20 months that you've been in Orlando, you should have enough to on your reel and on your, as far as people to get yourself a head start in the industry.
So, a long time ago, you had a resume, you had a paper resume. So what type of resume do you get, and what do you use to get your name out
Right.
into the world?
So we still use resumes. It's probably a little different. We make them on Canva or, wherever online you can make your resumes. But a big part of it, and another reason, that the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting is so advanced to the other schools is because, in Syracuse, let's say, for example, you've got 4 years at the school, and you're not going to get anything on tape, most likely, that you're getting help with from the school until your senior year. At Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, you're getting thrown in right away. So you have 2 years of, countless amount of shows in the studio that they provide, and countless amount of work that you're getting reviewed on by industry professionals day in and day out, that you are putting together for a demo reel to send out to employers after you graduate.
So, I remember on ESPN, they used to have the shows, kind of like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, blah, and this and that. But they had a show where they were doing people wanting to do ESPN and doing Sports Center. So, what's the difference? Is that similar to that, or is that something, events and everything else, trying to get their name or trying to win? But I know this is a school, so it's
Yeah.
a little different.
Yeah, it's a little different because you're not. I mean, you're obviously not on camera every day, but you're getting feedback, which is the most important things, from people that have been through their career already. Like I mentioned, Gus Ramsey, who helped me out so much. He was the head producer of ESPN for 20 years, from the 90s to the early 2000s. So you're getting people that have worked at ESPN, they've written at ESPN, they've produced for ESN or ESPN, or they've been all over the country being a sports anchor or a news anchor, that are day in and day out helping you and critiquing you and trying to make you better. So these are people that not only are names you can put on a recommendation list, but they're also people that are building you up and helping you to become to fulfill your passion, I should say.
Absolutely. So let's skip in that. So when did your passion for sports start?
Yeah, so you mentioned my grandpa. He was a big factor in that, and so same with my dad. So my grandpa played. He had a contract with the A's to play some minor league and spring training ball back in his day, and so I just grew up in a sports family. I played baseball for most of my life. I played 4 years at Blue Valley North High School out over in Overland Park. And then, I realized my senior year, I'm not good enough to, play D1 baseball or play anywhere that I would really want to. So I said, well, what's a way I can stay in sports? Because I love sports and that's my passion, but I can, be off the field and still do it. And sportscasting was the way to do that. And I found Full Sail and the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting on a YouTube ad, which is where a lot of people have heard of the school is from ads.
Right, absolutely. And like I said, you've got so many spams and so many false advertisings on stuff. So when you hear Dan Patrick, it sounds like it is at least legit. Now, did that make you leery? Did that make you excited? How did you react when you had the opportunity to at least check it out?
Yeah, I think when everyone sees it, they think the same thing you thought of the Columbia Broadcast School. Is, oh, this is a scam. This isn't real. It's like almost too good to be true kind of thing. And I remember thinking that, and I didn't have the best grades in high school, unfortunately, and my options were limited between KU and a couple other schools around the area, and I applied to that just thinking like I might as well just see what's happening, and then I got a phone call from someone that worked at Full Sail that kind of talked about the program, and it was probably a half an hour call, and after I was done, I was like, I'm in. This sounds incredible, and it was still, it's a leap of faith, definitely, but it was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Now, let's say this. So, like in high school, I was in high school when ESPN was just scratching the surface. ESPN started in 1979, so like Chris Berman was pretty much the main person that you ever heard of, and he still wasn't like the big name.
Yeah.
He was just the name. So in journalism, I was all about sports, but I did not get the reception from everybody else because nobody else likes sports. So when you were in high school, how was it different now when you were in high school than it was then?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I think there's a couple things that go into that, and one has to do with my standpoint of why I thought I can do this as a job, and that's because I was always known as like the sports guy at high school. Like people would come ask me like, oh, what do you think about this Chiefs move? What do you think about this Royals move? And I would always have all the answers just because I loved talking about sports. And I was also always loved listening to guys like Jim Nantz and Kevin Harlan and Mitch Holtis and Ryan Lefevre. I love listening to them, and that's kind of formed me into what sportscaster I am. But the other response to that would be how much sports have grown as far as a media platform because of social media.
Right, and in high school. Now, I knew that Belton at one time had like a program where you could do broadcastings and stuff like that, where you did not have that when I was in school. So did you have that? I mean, Blue Valley is one of the top schools in the Kansas City area.
Yeah, we didn't have it at Blue Valley North. We had, there's a couple of classes like broadcasting, but it's more of like go around the school and film TikToks kind of stuff. But I always knew that it was something I could do, but I just really didn't get to experience it until I took the leap of faith and went down to Orlando.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. Do you think schools should provide that? Not necessarily just to broadcast sports, but to do world news or, Channel 5 news and stuff like that. Should there be classes for schools to have so they can get that opportunity?
Yeah, I think they absolutely should, and I think the other thing would be you got to do it the right way at a certain point, because you have the right people teaching the class and stuff like that, which is why I think Full Sail is so different than all the other schools. But yeah, I think everyone that wants to have a chance to get on the camera and test out the water should absolutely be able to do that, and they can with social media, like I mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I am actually doing a show due to social media. I had actually somebody was wanting me to. There was a guy that was looking for a PA announcer for a basketball game, and I saw it, and I had this gal, and it hurts me because I do not remember the girl's name. It was somebody I did know, but she said, go talk to Brian Kress. He is the best. And I was just floored that somebody would say that. So he ended up calling me, Bryant Tucker, and he called me, and I got on. I did the PA announcing. and it was really awesome. It was the ABA basketball, which in the 60s and 70s, it was almost on the verge to overtaking the NBA.
Right.
So, but they turned around, and then they combined, kind of like the NFL, AFL. Then the next year, they had a small radio station similar to this that was going to broadcast their basketball games. Oh my gosh, it's going to. Oh, I can't remember it right now. So anyway, but for the team, and then the station that was running it had people on there doing sports shows, so I was watching them. And so one day I just asked, can I come in and do that? That was 6 years ago, or 6 or 7 years ago. And from then on, it was, but it's kind of like the leap of faith. So going back with you, so you decided to take the leap of faith.
Right.
So what did you need to do to go down there and go to school there?
As far as the
Right. So they talked to you.
Right.
You decided that you wanted to do that. So how did you do that? Do you have to go down there? Do you have to live there 24/7? Did they have dorms? Did you need an
Gotcha.
apartment? So
it's not the only minus about a school like Full Sail is it's not, you don't have the college life per se like you would at KU, K-State, Mizzou. There's no dorms. It's, you wouldn't even look at it and think it's a college building, but it's huge, like almost offices kind of look. But yeah, it's apartments off campus, and I was lucky enough to have two other great roommates that were also in sportscasting and had a great group of friends and that moved along with the program with me. And as far as moving to Florida was a big change from Leawood, Kansas. So
right.
it was a big jump, and that's about it as far as getting there.
So then you had to live on campus, or you had to live out off the campus,
right?
And you had to have. Did you have to have a second job or a part-time job, or were you?
I'm lucky enough that like my family supported me through it, and that we were financially able to cover that. I know a lot of people it's different. I did have friends that did work during it, and I credit to them because I would never have been able to do both at the same time. But I think the big thing about talking about getting there and how to succeed in that aspects, or why I wanted to, is just getting there and having a vision of I want to be the best at I want to be the best at play-by-play was my vision, and that's the goal I set out for myself. And so every play-by-play opportunity I could get with the different colleges around the area, I did. And just like you said, you kind of jumped it. It was just one connection can like step you into this business, or really any business. But it was just meeting the right people, and it's talking to the right people, and just being aggressive with your passion.
Absolutely. So, like you talked with Gus Ramsey.
Yep.
Now, nobody, and I wouldn't even known who Gus Ramsey
Right.
is, but was there any other big names that you got to meet, or that they did talks?
Yeah, there was so many. I mean, Dan obviously came
Right.
down a couple times. He was awesome to meet and a great guy. Jay Harris, who's at Sports Center. Nicole Briscoe, who's at Sports Center. I've got to talk to Jake Eisenberg, actually, the Royals play-by-play. I've talked to Brian Anderson from TNT and the Brewers broadcaster. So there's just countless amounts of names and people that they have constantly coming and constantly talking to the students and giving their advice on how to continue to grow. We had Mike Tirico on Zoom a couple times. We had
Nice.
what's his first? Wilbon.
Mike Wilbon.
Mike Wilbon was on Zoom a couple times as well. So just a bunch of cool connections that we have at the school because of guys like Gus and Dan and other people. So yeah.
Absolutely. So, obviously, when you got your certificate, your degree, you said that it is a bachelor's degree.
Yes.
So it's same as a so like if I went to Missouri for 4 years.
Right.
So with that, obviously you're not guaranteed a job.
Yeah.
So what happened after you graduated? So what was your process, and what did you have to go through afterwards to try to start achieving this?
Yeah, so another one of my goals, which is a lot of people's goals that they kind of instill in you while you're at the school, is I wanted a job before I graduated. I wanted to get a job lined up, so when I was graduated, I didn't have to come back home. I could go straight to wherever I was, and I was lucky enough to do that a couple months before I graduated. I became a part of the Sportscasting Talent Agency of America, STAA. John Chalesnik is the owner. He's a fantastic guy, and they send out job leads constantly for young sportscasters to apply for. And one of them that I saw was the Appalachian League, and they were. It was great to be a part of that this summer. They got back to me really quick, and I was like, yes, I'd love to. Nothing sounds better. So I got to do the Greenville Flyboys this year, covering them out in Tusculum, Tennessee, which is far, far east in the Appalachians, and got to meet so many cool people. The players were awesome, all big-time D1 schools in Oklahoma State, Vanderbilt, and actually one of our coolest stories from Greenville this year is Rintaro Sasaki, who is this Japanese phenom. He was supposed to be the number 1 pick in Japan.
Okay.
And he is kind of a pioneer in a way. He's paving his own path to the MLB because he didn't want to go to Japan. He could have taken a lot of money to be the first overall pick there. He decided to come overseas, play in American college. He's going to Stanford next year.
Oh, wow.
And he's projected to be a top 5 pick in a couple of years here in the MLB draft.
So he won't be in the 2025 draft.
26.
It'll be 26.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's got some power. It was impressive to watch him.
Really?
Yeah.
So saying that, what was outside of that? What was one of your better stories that you learned while you were down there at the Appalachian League?
I think I learned a lot about the players themselves and what it takes to be a baseball player and what it takes to, be also a productive baseball player at a D1, a big Power 5 D1 school. I don't think a lot of people, including myself, really realize, you can have all the talent in the world, but as soon as you step up to a D1, you're nothing. You're nothing compared to these coaches that have had their guys for years and years.
Right.
So, seeing guys that came out of high school and struggle a little bit, but also seeing them improve throughout the year was so awesome, especially once you get to know the guys and develop a relationship. So it was just a really cool experience overall.
So in other words, the players that were the top dogs at their school and in their area, it humbled them.
Yes.
So absolutely. So that is so cool because a lot of times you just think that you're always better than somebody, and so when we're golfing, I always there's always somebody worse than me that's playing.
It's probably me.
And no, it's the other way around. It's me. But you always think, well, I'm the best, and then there's always somebody better than you. So, so how was your mindset when you first went down to Dan Patrick? So what were you thinking, and then what was your reaction after you graduated? How was your mindset afterwards?
Yeah, so I think like I mentioned, I was so motivated because I had struggled in high school. My senior year of baseball did not go as advertised at all for myself. So I used it as motivation. I was like, I'm going to dominate. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to try as hard as I can to keep my grades good and really do a kind of a 180 or 360 or whatever on my education career and what my future looks like. So I was motivated, and there was bumps all across the road. We had a one class where we were presenting into a Sports Center anchor. I won't say which one, but he or she kind of got into us a little bit and told us we're not really good enough. So stuff like that. It's motivation that kept me going, and which is part of the school, which is so good. They're not gonna say, oh, you're great, you can do whatever you want.
Right.
It's not true. So they keep you humble, but they also, this is what you need to do to be better, and this is what you're good at. So those talks, and then at the end, it was excitement. I was confident at the skills I had learned, and it was excitement to go to Greenville and do that. And right now, which is I'm only 3 months removed from graduating, it's kind of like, okay, how do I use the skills that I've learned over these last 2.5 years and continue to grow and continue to find more and more jobs to continue to lead me to where I'm supposed to be.
Right. So you went into baseball. You were at the Appalachian League, and I'm kind of jumping a little bit, but going back to the teachers and all the other people, I've always learned when they're harder on you, then they care. If they didn't care about you, then they wouldn't even bother with you. So that part is a good thing. So now you did baseball.
Yep.
And obviously the baseball season is over because unlike the Major League Baseball, the lower levels they end much sooner. So in your next job or your next career, are you looking for baseball or where are you wanting to go?
Yeah, I that's something I'm figuring out myself. I've done baseball, basketball, soccer, and football. I love doing football and basketball. Soccer, I don't know much about, but we're figuring it out. I'm getting the chance to call a couple Johnson County Community College games with a media company coming up, so that's exciting. But I'm kind of in between because the school is mostly for anchoring positions and sports anchoring. So all my friends that graduated are all anchoring across the country now, which is so cool to see. But for me, it's about, because the play-by-play industry is a lot different than the anchoring industry. You can't really just jump in and get money and get a good job. So it's a hard decision for me right now. Do I want to grind out what I love doing immediately and keep pushing until I find something, or do I want to go to a news station for 2 years and then hopefully jump back into the industry? So it's a debate that I'm still struggling with right now.
Well, and here's a story. I used to deliver Ryan Lefevre's mail.
Oh, really?
So he actually lives in the Lee Summit area, but he had lived in Winnebago, and so I had walked up to his house one day. I had a certified, but I was talking to him that I was going to school for communications degree and everything else, and we were having a discussion about that, and he was saying that the problem with some of the younger kids is that they think that as soon as they graduate, they should get $1 million jobs, and not all of them, but they think that because they did all this, that they're going to get all those $1 million jobs, when instead they're doing the gopher jobs, go for this, go for that, get me coffee, and stuff like that, and work for like Ryan Lefevre and people like that. So how was that for you?
Yeah, I think, and again, I'm not trying to sound like I'm getting paid by the school to talk about this. But
no.
This is truly what I'm telling you, my experiences and how much this school has helped me. And another thing that they tell you over and over again is you're going to be working at a small, pretty terrible city, depending on where you're coming from. It'll be a terrible city, but a small city, So they tell you that over and over again, not to get you don't get your hopes up like I'm going to go on SportsCenter at 20 years old and change the industry. No, you're going to start somewhere small and you're going to work your way up. So that's part of the excitement is that first job, and that's actually something Jay Harris from SportsCenter told us was that first job is almost the most fun you'll ever have, because it's your first one, you're free, you're still young, and you can do all the cool stuff that you've always wanted to. So yeah, I think for me it was excitement to just get started, because I know my end goal is still that big time job that everyone wants, but I know that there's a large and bumpy road to get there that everyone has to take.
So in the scheme of things, what would be your ultimate goal?
Play-by-play for either a major network like Fox or CBS doing football, or for a baseball team or a basketball team. Just one of those major three sports. If anyone ever wants to pay me to do that, that is the dream completed. So
in other words, you're not necessarily hoping like I want to be a Royals announcer, I want to be a Chiefs announcer. It doesn't matter where it is.
No.
Does it matter if it's in the United States or if it's outside the United States?
I mean, who knows if whatever it is, but obviously, I would love nothing more than to call the Chiefs the Royals one day. But it's this. I would have the same emotions like if I got to call the even though I'm a Jayhawks fan, if I got to call the Missouri Tigers, I'm still pumped up that I get to call college football. So it doesn't matter to me as long as I'm doing what I love, you know.
Absolutely. So this isn't Any Given Sunday. We are here with Max Gershon. He is a graduate of the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting.
Got it.
I got that.
Got it.
Yeah, it took me a couple of times, but and we're having a great show right now. We're talking about his experiences. So let's just say I'm one of these people that are wanting to try to do something like that, and I'm like, oh, I'm hesitant. You know, I'm a high schooler, just graduated.
Yeah.
I'm looking to find my way in the world. What would you say, or what would you do to talk to me about where I should go, or just give me some advice?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing I would say is try out the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, check it out. But also, I would tell them that, you know, meet people. That's the biggest thing. Meet people, email people. Don't be. The thing that helped me was being told not to be scared to email people that you look up to and ask for advice and continue to see what roads people went down to get to where they are. I think that's the most valuable advice that I get, is like when someone tells me what they did at my age to get to where they are now, because that makes me feel comfortable about what I'm doing. Or maybe I can say, oh, maybe I need to do this instead of that. So I think meeting people, talking to people that are in the industry, sending out your footage of yourself. So first of all, get a camera, even if it's your phone, stand out at Kauffman Stadium, act like you're a reporter, even if you're not. You know, act like, fake it till you make it sometimes. But yeah, send your work out and continue to be active and continue to make content.
Absolutely. So we are at halftime on Any Given Sunday on KUAW. I'm here with Max Gershon. He's a recipient of the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, and I'm just having a great show with you. So we're going to take a quick break, and then when we get back, we're going to continue this a little bit, and then what we will do is we will actually talk sports and everything else. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to do all that. So we are listening to Any Given Sunday on KUAW. right, we're back with the second half of Any Given Sunday on KUAW. We're going to reintroduce this. This is Any Given Sunday on KUAW. I am Brian Kress, the awesome voice, and running the show behind the scenes, DJ Scatter, George Walker. Mr. Walker, how are you doing this evening?
Hey, everything's going just great.
Oh, that's awesome. And Coach 24, Darwin Penny, he is not here tonight. He is in Indianapolis doing some more of his scouting. So, and tonight our guest is Max Gershon. He is a grandfather, or he is the grandson of a coach that coaches for Ban Johnson. But he is the graduate of Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting. And so we were talking the first half about, how you went to school and everything else. So now the question that I had forgotten to ask you was, Dan Patrick, when you got Patrick Mahomes, they all have agents. So when you graduated from Dan Patrick, did you obtain an agent?
Yeah, so it's a sportscasting talent agency is where I found the first job.
Okay.
And then I've actually been talking to one of my instructors about agents and how that works. So I'm in the process of possibly getting one, but the Sportscasting Talent Agency of America, if you're a sportscaster and are looking for more work, I would definitely suggest going to that website and signing up there. There's a little membership fee, but it's great, and that's where I've found the jobs that I've applied to.
And what is that again?
It's Sportscasting Talent Agency of America, STAA. John Shalesnik runs it, and he is fantastic.
Awesome. So anyway, so we were talking about, some of the job that you had done. You were at the Appalachian League, and you were talking about one of the Japanese players that was in there. So, like Patrick Mahomes, when he walks around, he's got bodyguards. So did this player have bodyguards around him?
It's funny. He didn't have bodyguards, but he was sort of escorted out of the clubhouse, especially on the road, to get to the bus, because there was usually people surrounding the locker room asking for his autograph specifically. So they kind of made it so he wasn't going to get harassed by any fans after the game. But no bodyguards were necessary, but definitely had a pull as far as eyes and fans.
So when you were doing all this, like when I do this show, I like to try to see how many people are watching, or how many. It used to be how many views you had. Now they talk about how many plays you have. So, and like last week, I had Shane Allen, and he helped me obtain 600 views or 600 plays. So, saying that, what was your biggest moment in announcing, and how many views or how many plays did you get?
Yeah, so it was Rintaro Sasaki, and he hit a home run in our division clinching win at home in Greenville, and it was a crazy situation actually. So there was the inning before, where it's against like our division rivals. We win, we have a home playoff game for the first time in 4 years. So the inning before, I'll kind of set it up. So the inning before. Play at the plate to tie the game. Really, really bad call that goes in the Greenville Flyboys' favor, which is the team I called for. Their coaches, two coaches, their hitting coach and their manager, get ejected. There's contact with the umpires. It's getting a little shaky out on the field.
It's getting a little chippy out there, huh?
So Rintaro didn't start the game, but the next inning comes around. They put a relief in, or kind of a slow throwing a righty. Rintaro's this big, powerful left-handed hitter. And I see him on deck, and he had just pinch hit for our DH. He comes in, first pitch after the ejection, just a missile into the forest in right field. And I knew when he was going to hit a home run that my call was going to get recognized, because MLB Pipeline, they posted, and all the prospect watchers on Twitter and Instagram love his clips. So it was also lucky for me. It was my favorite call of the season as well. And on Twitter, I think it got 50,000 views, and on Instagram it had 5,000 likes on MLB Pipeline. So it was so cool. I knew it was going to happen because his first home run was an away game. So the away broadcaster got to have the call, and I was kind of upset about it. I was like, oh, he's getting all the views. So
Yeah.
then when he hit one at home, I was super pumped. And yeah, it's so cool whenever you could have that many ears on you.
So how was your feeling when you realized that 50,000 people saw or heard your call? Did they see it too?
Yeah.
Okay, so they saw and heard your call on the home run over a guy, that is pretty popular.
Yeah. I get the same feeling. Like, we had a couple guys like Brody Johnston, who's committed to Vanderbilt, is this unbelievable. He'll probably be a first round pick the same year too. He's unbelievable, and whenever he would do something and it would get posted, or Rentaro or a couple other guys, just seeing like even coaches, like we had Tyler Inge, who his dad is Brandon Inge for the Tigers for a long time. So even seeing him post my stuff and seeing the Michigan head coach repost some of it. Anytime any of the guys or any of their coaches or schools or even the league makes a video with my calls, and I get so excited because I'm like, I love the fact that my voice gets to be shared. It's something I'm proud of. So yeah, it's awesome.
So I've got to ask this question. So growing up, I always thought I didn't like my voice. I hated it. When you hear your voice, did you sometimes go, oh my gosh, I sound like that? This is horrible.
Yeah, well, I mean, at first, I think everyone does, and I took vocal training classes at school that really helped with that. But even some of the guys, is funny, we were riding back on the bus one of the road games. One of the players heard my call on Instagram, and he looks like, Max, like, you don't sound like that in real life when we're talking, but you only sound like that when you've got the headphone in. I'm like, yeah, it's something about when I put the headset on and it's live, my voice, I kind of want to sound more professional.
Right.
So I've gotten used to that professional sound. Do I like my voice when I'm just talking casually? Probably less than I like my broadcaster voice. But yeah, I think it took some getting used to, but now I've watched back all my games that I call, and it's something I kind of have to like if I want to continue to spread, because I want to post my stuff. I don't want to be embarrassed of like, oh, my voice sounds like this. So
Right, absolutely. So in other words, like if we're talking when we're on the golf course,
yeah,
you've got a certain voice, but when you're doing this, do you prepare yourself and to say, okay, this is how I'm going to try to talk? Is this the way you do it, or you just go in and just start talking?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things about that. It's kind of natural for me, honestly, and it's something I'm really lucky that I have that ability to do, is kind of change my voice and do that and manipulate it in certain ways, which is really helpful. Yeah, I think I want to sound more professional when I'm talking to an audience. So I'll sound, maybe my voice gets deeper kind of naturally or something like that, but I'll use, it's just different in each situation. But I think also it's about cadence and stuff like that. And something that Gus had always told, Gus Ramsey from my school has always told me is, because a lot of people ask him and Dan, like, how do I find my own unique voice when I'm so young and I haven't done all that much? You listen to Ryan Lefevre all the time, and he's got all these amazing stories. And I think he's the most brilliant storyteller that's calling baseball right now. I think he's so good. It's such an art form that he's, gotten down. But at my age, and a lot of people my age that do what I do, that, I haven't had enough time to really find my voice like, all the people that have been in the industry for so long. It's kind of about not necessarily stealing from others, but I've listened to so many voices, from Ryan Lefevre to Jim Nantz to Kevin Harlan to Mitch Holtis, that have kind of morphed my voice right now to what it is. So I think listening and hearing all those people and kind of taking notes on what they do has kind of helped me subconsciously form how I talk on broadcasts.
So is it kind of similar to like a football player that's a running back and he mimics Walter Payton or Barry Sanders or Emmitt Smith? Is that kind of the same way?
I think that's a great comparison. It's what players have watched all their life. Like I'm sure when George Brett was playing, everyone wanted to swing just like George Brett did. So it's kind of the same thing. Like everyone wants to sound like Joe Buck. Or everyone wants to sound like someone that they listen to all their life. So I think it's not necessarily stealing from others, but I like Ryan Lefevre's storytelling. I want to be able to tell stories like that, and I like how Dan Orsillo, the Padres. I like how he gets excited on the big plays, and stuff like I like Mitch Holtis's comparisons to things and stuff like that. I don't know, whatever it is, it's being able to morph all those into your own voice. I think helps in so many different ways.
So, like I do this once a week. So, like for you. You're looking at Mitch Holtis and you're looking at Ryan Lefevre and Dan Patrick and Jay Harris and everything else. How much preparation do you take into preparing? Now, I know that I do a show once a week. I have a regular job, so I can't focus on it. I would love to do that. But how much do you focus on trying to perfect your craft?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so important. The more comfortable especially when we're talking about baseball, when we've got 9 guys on each team plus the bench. I think it's so important to have something ready for each player. So what I tried to do when I'm calling baseball, and it's really different for every sport, but really the main thing is I want to have at least 3 different stories or fun facts or notes, hopefully stories, depending on the player, that I can share and I have in front of me for every single player on every team that I call. So I think, it's a lot of preparation and there's a lot of organization that can kind of be easier once you have a routine. But yeah, I like to have my setup really look like this because, well, when you're starting off, it was a one-man show in Greenville. That you know what I'm saying? Like I was producing, I was live tweeting the scores, and I was also broadcasting the game. So, I mean, my setup kind of was overwhelming. I'd have my laptop for the score and like the live stats, and then I'd have a tablet for the ads I would run and the scoreboard on the broadcast, and then I'd have the 2 lineups that I would write down. I would have the 2 defensive lineups, and then I would have 2 game boards per team, one for all of the pitchers and then one for all the hitters that would be filled up with different stories and different things from their pages on like their college team and where they're from, with their height and stuff like that. And I would pretty much have that for every single team.
Now, did you have it like on a sheet or did you have it on a laptop where it was right in front of you?
I like to print my game boards. It's because it's too, unless you have 5 monitors, it's too hard to scroll through. So, yeah, I had my game boards printed out. I had them color coded and stuff like by the team, and then I had I would just write the lineups on like a notepad and defensive alignments just to like check. So I'm holding it while the ball's in the air, and I can just look down real quick. Oh, that's the left fielder's last name, and then I can say the left fielder's last name. So yeah, it's little stuff just to be prepared. The worst thing is when. It's happened to me a million times. That's why I'm so prepared for games, is because a pinch hitter comes in and you don't know anything about him, and he's the one that hits the game-winning RBI, and you're like, well, I didn't even know who this guy was until he just hit that RBI. So I think the best thing is being prepared for every single scenario possible that you can physically be prepared for in a game.
That's awesome. I like how you're talking about that because, like, I announce semi-pro football games. So there are times where I have to look at binoculars because even though I have good eyesight, sometimes their jerseys are horrible.
Oh, I get it.
And you got to have binoculars so you can see who's running the ball and who's tackling the ball. And I still have to turn around and make sure that I get the right names. So I can get some of the home team's names, but these guys, you have to find them. And if they don't give you a roster, you have to write it down. So your numbers are totally different. So you kind of understand what I'm
absolutely.
We both understand what we're doing because and you try to do it, and you have to try to do it as fast as you can because if you do especially pitching or baseball now with the pitch clock and everything, how fast it goes, and football, they have 30 seconds. If you can't get it done quickly, you miss that play, and then you go on to the next one. So, yeah, it takes a lot of work, and you get now. Saying this, I did the championship game, and I had a few people that made comments, not nice comments about me and how I announced. Has anybody ever gave you a bad comment about how you announced the game?
Not about my play-by-play. One of my first games I ever did, and this is like this is also why I'm prepared, because I never want to make this mistake again. It was Rollins College versus I cannot remember. It was a school. I think in Massachusetts or New Jersey. I can't remember. But they came down to Florida. I was calling the game. It was baseball. And I wasn't familiar with Rollins' team at that point because it was my second game. And I got familiar once the season went on. So I had to look at the lineups on my screen for almost every single play because I didn't know who anyone was. So the away team Rollins hit a walk-off home run.
Okay.
And I looked down at my laptop, and I read a player's name on the other team. Yeah.
Oh.
Really bad. Really
Oh.
bad. And I'm never gonna let it down. But I got a DM from someone on that was watching, or that's a fan of the away team, that said the guy isn't on Rollins. And I didn't realize it until I got home because I thought it was good. And then I was like, my heart just dropped.
Oh.
And so that from then on, that's I need to know everyone, and I need to make sure I know everyone. I think, you mentioned you're familiar with the home team, and then the away team comes in, and you're like, okay, I'm not as familiar with them. And sometimes that's a good thing, because if you're calling for a team, people want to hear about your
Right.
team.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, I like to be as familiar as possible before even watching the guys play. So I'm able to tell the people at home, oh, this guy actually plays at the same college than the guy you've watched every day. They're actually teammates, but you wouldn't have known that until I just said it. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, and here, I'm going to give you a little piece of advice. Ozzie Smith
Yep.
and Eddie Murray went to the same high school.
There you go. That's a good.
So they were 2 years apart, and actually they said Eddie Murray's older brother was actually the better ball player of the three. So you have two not only MLB players, but Hall of Fame players.
Wow.
So and then when we went down to the Hall of Game ceremonies, Eddie Murray was getting nominated.
Oh.
And so Ozzie Smith got nominated 2 years before.
Right.
So he was there too. So I got to meet him.
Oh, that's awesome.
So you get a lot of those things. And they're supposed to have announcement for the Hall of Game ceremony. So if you're still in town, you definitely need to go.
Okay.
Definitely. So, and that's one of the biggest joys that I've had, because last year I got to meet Doc Gooden, Dave Stewart. And a lot of great players. So, and then you see other players that come in and support them too. So, yeah. So we are nearing the end of Any Given Sunday, and we've been talking about, your career and how you're doing, which is awesome. That's how we're doing. But for the last 7 minutes, we're going to talk Royals baseball.
Let's do it.
So let's go. Tonight they are off. Tomorrow they go to Anaheim. They just lost 2 out of 3 to the Minnesota Twins. And here's my thing. Kansas City is going for the playoffs. They're right now, if the season ended, they are in the playoffs. But they are going to start playing some teams. They're playing Anaheim and then Cincinnati. And then in a 20-game stretch, they're playing like Cleveland, Philadelphia, and a couple of other teams.
Yeah.
But that's going to be their season. So what do the Royals need to do in order to continue on with this stretch of trying to make the playoffs?
Yeah, I think you're going to need to see what you saw at the beginning of the year from the pitching staff. There's been some slumps recently, especially with Brady Singer a couple nights ago, of just not good enough starts with the offense we have, and I think that's what I think people need to accept, is that this is the offense we have. It's not, we don't have the Yankees offense. We don't have the Braves lineup when they're healthy. We don't have the Phillies lineup. This is the lineup we have. As far as Bobby, Vinny, and Salvi go, is as far as this team goes.
Right.
But it's more than enough when you have Brady Singer, Cole Reagan, Seth Lugo, now Michael Lorenzen playing at their potential, at how good of pitchers they can be. So I think if the pitching staff can get back to not even get back, but get closer to where they were at the beginning of the year, I think this is definitely a playoff team.
Right. Well, Seth Lugo, after he threw that complete game winner, he has really struggled, like in the last 4 or 5 starts. And Brady Singer, here's his stat with Brady Singer. When he is playing like against Detroit and Chicago and the teams that are nowhere near the playoffs, he has a 2.05 ERA. When he is pitching against Boston, Minnesota, and teams that are in contention, he has a 4.87 ERA. So, in other words, he can beat up on the lighter teams, which is good, but now he has to do that to the better teams, and this is their opportunity.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing about Brady is we've seen flashes of brilliance, like he did a couple years back, where he was our ace. We thought he was the ace of the future, and now, I mean, they have the scouting report on him. That's what happens when you throw 2 pitches in the big leagues. You just can't throw 2 pitches at the level that he throws them,
right,
and succeed year in and year out in Major League Baseball. You just don't see a lot from starting pitchers. So I think it's going to be about him locating better and hopefully finding something else that works. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the answer is for Brady Singer. But as far as Cole Reagan's, talk about his performance. Was that last night? Yes,
yeah,
yesterday.
Last night.
Yesterday, yeah.
Yesterday afternoon.
There's something about him when he knows it's his last inning. There's no one touching him. When he's at 100 pitches, he'll fire 98, 99, 90 when he's starting the game at 93. So it's good to see him back up at the velocity, because there was a couple of games where I was getting worried that his arm was having problems because he was throwing 92, 93. But seeing him back up there and being himself on the mound has been great to see.
Absolutely. So here's a question for you.
Yep.
Should the Royals pick up Trevor Bauer? He's a free agent, and he really hasn't pitched in 2 years. Yes or no, and why?
No, because I don't think he fits with this team. I don't think he fits in the locker room, and I don't think he fits in the rotation. I don't think that's what we need. And I don't see him coming out of the bullpen. If you asked me at the beginning of the year, I would have said yes. But I think at this point in the season, I don't think it's worth it, because even though everything's kind of been cleared up with his name, and I think he definitely deserves to be in Major League Baseball now, I don't think that it's smart. It's a smart decision that anyone would take to bring someone like that in now at the season.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that if they do bring him in, are they saying that their season is starting to drown a little bit and that they are desperate, that they have to pick him up?
I mean, yeah, I think that's a fair assumption. If the Royals sign Trevor Bauer, that things most likely are not looking as good as we thought they were after the month of April.
Right, but at the same time, our bullpen has really been stagnant, and it's really struggled. To bring somebody in, and maybe you're right, maybe the chemistry would be off, but what if he comes in and becomes a team player and helps out? Because he did win a Cy Young with Cleveland.
Yeah.
He is not a so-called scrub pitcher, though he hasn't pitched in a couple of years. We don't know. But saying that, if he came in and helped out the Royals, especially right now, because our starting pitching outside of Cole Reagan's has struggled.
Yeah.
I mean, it's dominated all year, but Lugo is already past his number of innings that he's had in a career. So he's at a season high. And so he's got at least 4 or 5 more starts.
I think if the Royals were to sign anyone for the bullpen, I think there's 2 very obvious answers, and it's Josh Staumont, who was just recently released, and Dylan Coleman. 2 guys that have been on the team and played with these guys, and they've struggled, but they've had their bright spots. So I think if you're going to take a chance on anyone that's not on a team right now, I think it's Josh Staumont, Dylan Coleman, because they have the stuff. It's about can they actually produce good numbers in the big leagues. So we'll see. Lucas Urseg has been fantastic, and
Yes,
he
he
needs to be
has.
the closer every game.
Right, but the natural or the Nationals, his guy Harvey,
Yeah.
has just totally have struggled
Yeah.
with that. So, but I guess we got a few years with him. So
Yeah.
we are at the end of Any Given Sunday on KUAW. Max Gershon, thank you very much.
Thank
I
you,
mean,
Brian.
this was
Pleasure.
awesome, and we were just having fun. And so we are heading out. George Walker, DJ Scatter, behind the scenes, Coach 24, Darwin Penny, and I am Brian Kress, the Awesome Voice, with Max Gershon, our guest. Be awesome, not angry, and you guys have yourself a phenomenal sports weekend.
21-year-old pregnant black mother who was killed after being accused of shoplifting last August. Democratic U.S. Representative Ilhan Omar, one of the progressive House members known as the Squad, and a sharp critic of how Israel has conducted the war in Gaza, has won her